From KPFK in Los Angeles, California, Valley Free Radio in Florence, Massachusetts, WNUC in Detroit, and BikeTalk.org worldwide, this is Bike Talk.
Bike Talk.
Welcome to Bike Talk. I'm Taylor Nichols.
And I'm Nick Richard.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Taylor.
You know, gas prices are up, stocks are down. Things are going great in the US of A, no?
I don't know which side to root for.
Well, I think the side to root for is this is a good time to buy a bike to get started biking, don't you think, if you're not a regular biker already?
The Bikeside.
The Bikeside. That's a question I get asked all the time, don't you? I want to start biking. What kind of bike should I get?
For the whole first 10 years of the show, it was the question. What kind of bike should I get?
And what do you say to people?
Well, now I say a burrito bike.
And what's a burrito bike again?
It's like an old mountain bike with upright handlebars.
Right. I always say, make sure you get a rack or a basket, because that, for me, that's what changes the bike from just something to go out and tool around on and have fun to actual transportation.
There's a segment today, right, with you and Jim C.
Yeah, Jim Cadenhead is on, and he's talking with a friend of mine, a really bright young actress, Gloria Ines, who lives in Hollywood and drives a car, but is sick of paying. Now get this, Nick. The average gas price in Los Angeles is $5.77, $5.77. And some places are as high as $6 or $7, which I never understood why in Los Angeles different gas stations have wildly different prices, but they do.
There's gouging.
Yeah, they are. They're gouging. They're near the airport. They're near places like that, right?
So bikes are the way to go, and it was the National Bike Summit last week.
Which we missed.
I'm avoiding that whole city. Sorry. We do have someone who covered it, Joel Gwadz.
Gwadzilla, right?
Yeah, he's famous. We also have someone from WABA, the Washington Area Bicyclists Association.
Kalli Krumpos.
To talk about this bike lane that Trump wants to take out that goes past the White House.
It kills me, Nick, that we fight so hard to get a bike lane in, especially in an area like Washington, D.C., where it can really connect places, and then some idiot wants to take it out.
Yeah. Here's Kalli Krumpos. Kalli, Joel actually talked to you, but it was too loud at the summit. There was a lot of noise on the bike lane. Can you tell us about it?
Well, that's right. I am coming to you after a whirlwind week. On Thursday, March 19th, after about a month of rumors, we heard that there was going to be construction to remove the protected bike lane on 15th Street on the stretch that runs across the National Mall that next Monday. So while we jumped into action, I talked with Joel Thursday.
At the National Bike Summit.
Right after the National Bike Summit, where we had come down to the National Mall to protest the potential removal of the protected bike lane. I think we had almost 100 folks out, and we were seeing just streams of commuters and visitors on the National Mall enjoying that great space and the protected bike lane, which just makes it so much easier and safer for everybody to get around.
Who uses the bike lane? Is it government employees? Is it tourists? Bike share bikes?
That is a great question. The 15th Street bike lane in DC is one of the busiest corridors that we have. It runs from the 14th Street Bridge that connects to Virginia all the way to the heart of downtown DC and then up into Northwest DC. So that's a primary corridor. DC estimates that about 4,000 people use that bike lane every day. So that includes people who are commuting to their work, to school, and especially on the National Mall, we think there are a lot of visitors coming from out of town who want to enjoy the great resources that we have here.
Right. And it is a protected bike lane, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, we know how important that is because Dan Langenkamp has been on the show. And of course, his wife, Sarah, was killed not in Washington, D.C. proper, but in Bethesda on a bike lane that was not protected and a truck that did not have side guards. Two of the issues that we're talking about today on the show.
Yeah. Well, I think something that we really want to highlight is that this protected bike lane had really impressive improvements for every type of road user. It made it safer for every different type of mode. It decreased crashes by 46% for people driving, for people walking, and for people biking. It reduced bike crash injuries by 91%. And it even made it faster for people who are driving in their cars by 17%. So this is a project that we think is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It makes it safer. It makes it easier to understand where everyone's supposed to go. And it just really helps everyone have a safe route.
Who wants to take it out, and why do they want to take it out?
The project was originally put in through a collaboration between the District Department of Transportation and the National Park Service. So they worked together to get that project in place over the course of many years. They had to go through many processes of review, including public comment, review from the National Capital Planning Committee. This process to remove it has been totally opposite. No public comment, nothing in writing. We just heard these rumors that it was going to happen and that it was going to happen immediately. We have heard that this is coming from the National Park Service. Just last week, we finally saw for the first time in writing the categorical exclusions from the National Park Service and the Federal Highway Administration. And they are claiming that they're removing it due to the executive order to make DC safe and beautiful, which we know is the opposite of what this bike lane is already doing. It's keeping us safer. Removing it does the opposite.
They're saying to make it safe and beautiful, and that's why they're removing a bike lane?
One of the spokespeople also said that it was common sense. They wanted to return to, I quote, common sense transportation planning. That's not safety. We need folks to have options for different modes, and this project really supports all those.
I guess common sense in that usage refers to not some kind of wisdom, but sort of like what is very a common way of thinking.
But at the same time, we were leading right into peak cherry blossom time, and we were seeing posts on social media from the National Park Service saying, hey, traffic is going to be bad. You should consider walking, biking, and taking transit. So I think even from the agency, we're getting mixed messages.
You know, Nick, I got to take a step back. Remember a couple of episodes, Michelle Grasso was on the show from the Urban Cycling Institute, and she talked about fascists and how they loved
cars.
And they thought cars were the future, right?
Yeah.
But you were bringing up the whole thing that fascists don't think bicycles are the future. They think cars and trucks are the future, and gasoline and oil is the future, and not solar and wind.
Yeah. I guess bikes are a form of like weakness. They're not as strong as a car.
I think something that I identify with personally is that bikes have been involved in forms of protest. I think for me, riding my bike is a form of empowerment. This bike lane and some of the process we're seeing here, to me, feels like related to many of the attacks that we are seeing from the federal government, attacks on DC's home rule. We're seeing several bills from Congress that want to repeal laws that have been passed by DC's own local government. So this is a project on National Park Service land where there's a little bit of a different process, but because of threats to DC home rule, it makes it a little bit harder for the government of DC to fight back. And we think that tie as well seems like it has some echoes to our current federal administration.
So the whole states' rights issue doesn't really fly here, even though DC is not a state, but they're taking away home rule. That's interesting.
I think we're seeing lots of different attacks. This feels like a really tangible attack where there are fewer options for recourse. We believe that the National Park Service still should follow the established process. We should have an environmental impact study, and we should have the ability for public comment. Those processes haven't been undertaken, which is why the Washington Area Bicyclists Association is bringing a legal argument to the National Park Service to make sure that we do follow those processes.
Is there any kind of timeline?
Initial rumors started 2 Thursdays ago. We moved to file a preliminary injunction to stop the removal. The Department of Justice intervened. Initially, they said, hey, let's hold for about a week. So initially we heard that the removal efforts would be delayed a week from March 23rd to March 30th. As those discussions continued, we got word that the Department of Justice would ensure that the Department of Interior, National Park Service, and Federal Highway Administration would stop any of the removal efforts until April 23rd. And in that time frame, we believe that WABA should be able to bring our case to be heard in court sometime in April.
Well, it's really interesting to me that this whole thing happened during the National Bike Summit. And, Nick, that just shows us why these kinds of organizations are so important. It's hard to be involved all the time, but you realize that, WABA and the League of American Cyclists are really fighting the good fight.
Yeah, Kalli, did you find that there was some comfort? And you had the smartest bike advocates from all over the country. Because I've heard them. They all know what they're talking about right there on the scene.
We feel like this initial attack in DC on the 15th Street bike lane is kind of the first of what could be many potential threats. We've seen reductions in funding. We've seen some of the funding that had already been approved be taken back. So this is a first of what we think could be the continuation of other attacks on important infrastructure, just like the 15th Street bike lane. So I think, to me, it was a really feeling of being buoyed by folks who are working really hard on this work, folks who are brainstorming together, trying to fight this. And I think it was really powerful to be able to stand together and to enjoy that we do have at least a little bit of a longer time frame to enjoy the protected bike lanes. We have been really thankful to have some specific support on the 15th Street bike lane. DC's congressional representative, Eleanor Holmes Norton, has been working with Northern Virginia Congressman Don Beyer, alongside many other congresspeople, specifically calling out the need to protect the 15th Street bike lane, which we think is really important.
And is there like a call to action?
We've seen them sign a letter. Apparently they pulled that together in just a couple hours as soon as they heard official word. So we are in ongoing talks with them, with the League of American Bicyclists and some of our national partners on how we can continue to emphasize that the National Park Service needs to follow its own rules.
And I don't know what kind of bike rider you might be if you're listening, whether you're a spandex sport rider or a commuter or just someone who goes out on a bike share, but this is an issue for all of us to rally behind. We can't let the small steps that we are taking forward be reversed.
Thanks, Kalli Krumpos, Advocacy Director, WABA.
Washington Area Bicycle Association. Kalli, thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks to Kalli. And I know I already said it, Nick, but those organizations are important because that's who is writing those letters at the drop of a hat and getting them to the right people and getting the judicial system involved in putting a stay.
Yeah, listening to the interviews that are coming up next from Joel Gwadz.
That Joel did, yeah.
I really get a respect for the bike summit that happens every year because you hear the high quality conversations that are happening there.
We talked about wanting to go, but every state that has a bike org does a summit also. And so, if you're hearing this or listening to this, go to your state's bike summit. The California Bike Summit is in April, and of course in other states also.
Yeah. But now we got Joel Gwadz, aka Gwadzilla, notorious bike messenger from the DC annals. Here's I think it was a happy hour, or it was at the MLK library.
But Joel got to talk to a lot of people. It was really nice.
Thank you for having me. My name is Desiree Squire. I'm the Education Program Manager from Bike Durham. And I'm hoping when I come here that I can get more funding and more representatives to push for safer streets. I'm trying to get more people of color and people who look like me in marginalized spaces out on the road. And I'm hoping that being here, talking to representatives and their assistants, that I will be able to help pass some laws or some bills and people can see the importance of what we do. So I'm here just for safety.
Have you been to the Bike Summit before? Do you think that maybe meeting some of the advocates and learn what they've done, do you think those things will help you as well?
I think it's incredibly inspirational. This is my first year, actually. This is my first year here. With networking, I'll be able to make some connections and help us come together and collaborate and get this thing done, because we deserve to be out here in the streets and we need to have people out here to advocate for safer spaces, and that's what I'm here for.
My name is Stephen Hardy-Braz. I'm here at the National Bicycle Summit here in Washington, D.C. I'm a volunteer sign language interpreter helping to devote and share my skills in interpreting for deaf and hard of hearing people that are attending the national summits and watching it online, so that the League of American Bicyclists can support people with disabilities and diversity, but also to speak up here as an attendee for safer and more accessible communities, so that everyone can exercise their freedom to move about, choose how they want to move about, no matter how they ride, walk, or use mobility devices, anywhere they want in the country. I'm here to support the Americans with Disabilities Act and people with their civil rights for accessibility. But since I know that anyone at any time could develop a disability, have a temporary disability from an injury or something, or in my case, when I was out cycling, get hit by a car and become permanently disabled, to invest today in what could be the need you have for tomorrow. I'm all about supporting people, supporting others, because others supported me. Other people have built trails and greenways and work on them elsewhere that I've enjoyed around the country, so I try to do the same for the next people. I think of the old Native American proverbs about, you plant the acorn for the oak trees your grandchildren will enjoy. And so that's why I'm here advocating and sharing the skills I have, and I'd like to challenge and encourage everybody else to think about something every day. What have you done today that will leave the world a better tomorrow? We talk about the curb cut effect, and there's been research that it may be my civil rights as a person with a mobility disability to have a handicap ramp or a curb cut ramp put in, but anybody who's moving musical equipment or moving their apartment furniture or pushing a baby stroller or a shopping cart or anything with wheels, riding a bike, riding a skateboard, riding a scooter, even jogging, almost everybody uses those ramps. They don't need it, but they all recognize the ease and the benefit of having them. So it's just making the world a little better place by universal design.
I'm Patrick Martin from Albequerque, New Mexico. I'm the president of BikeWalk. I'm here at the Bike Summit hoping to make connections with other bicycle organizations and really get inspired by what successes are possible in this country.
So have you been to the Bike Summit before?
This is my first year.
And so what's your position with the Albuquerque Bike Organization?
I'm the president of BikeWalk.
Did you form it?
I did not. It was formed about 25 years ago by Gail Ryba.
Fantastic. Yeah, so what are the goals of your organization? What do you want to implement in Albuquerque?
Yeah, so our goal is to make bicycling in Albuquerque safe and convenient for everyone. And so one thing we're really looking forward to in Albuquerque is the city's starting to develop more protected bike lanes. Our mayor just got reelected with a promise of putting in 20 miles of protected bike lanes over his next 4 years. And so we're really interested in making that as easy as possible for him. One thing that's really inspiring to me is I lived in Baltimore for a bit, and Baltimore got a Contraflow bike lane, the two-way bike lane down Maryland a while ago, and that seemed to get done really easily without really much cost or much consternation among people. And so, how to get those sorts of projects through quickly and easily is something that, was really useful to learn.
Hi, I'm Natasha Smith. I'm from Bowling Green, Kentucky. I am with BikeWalk BG, as in Bowling Green. Here at the National Bike Summit, this is my second time, and like the last time, I'm really excited to be here, and mostly to get to meet new people, network, see people that I've met before, and hear about amazing ideas and things that we can take back home. So in Bowling Green, we have very limited bike lanes. We are a city of about 75,000 people. It's in a mostly rural area, so cars are the main mode of transportation. So we have very limited bike lanes, and they're not really well accepted. So they're not a huge thing there. I am very proud that Bowling Green, just as of our 2025 application, got designation of bicycle-friendly community. And I'm sure our bike lanes contributed to that, but again, they're pretty limited for how many we have.
Hey, I'm Niles Barnes from Durham, North Carolina, and I'm with the East Coast Greenway Alliance, and I'm at the National Bike Summit here in Washington, D.C. To advocate for safe biking and walking trails. Our work is focused on connecting communities and places and people to one another. And we work to build a 3,000-mile biking and walking trail from the Canadian border all the way to Key West, Florida, connecting all the major cities of the East Coast. As we sometimes like to say, from the moose to the manatee. So we route through 15 states and DC. We go through all sorts of different jurisdictions and municipalities. And so a lot of our work is getting this trail prioritized at all different levels: federal funding, state, local, municipal. And so that's a big part of our job, is trying to get the project prioritized and then in the pipeline of development, from planning to design, construction, ribbon cutting, open to the public. So it's a lot of different pieces. The great thing is there's never been more interest and energy and momentum for trails. And I think a lot of that came out of COVID. Maybe one of the only few good things coming out of COVID was people woke up to how important open space and trails are, not just for physical health, but mental health, spiritual well-being. So we're still trying to ride that wave of so many people that got introduced for trails for the first time during COVID. That was the only place they could go. The only thing they could do was get out on a trail. And so we know there's demand for more, and we want to get more on the ground faster.
Hey, I'm Terry Lansdell with BikeWalk North Carolina. I'm here at the National Bike Summit for the League of American Bicyclists, and we're excited to bring one of the largest contingents of North Carolina representatives to Washington, D.C. to talk about the issues of policy and funding for bicycle accommodations on our public transportation network.
That's fantastic. You're like the 19th person I've interviewed from North Carolina.
Well, we're the 19th person, but we're the 5th largest state. We have the 2nd largest roadway network in America, right?
And so what's your percentage at least in urban areas? Do you have like a rational percentage of bike lanes?
Well, it depends on the urban area. In North Carolina, we're one of the few states that it's illegal for North Carolina Department of Transportation to spend money on bicycle and pedestrian projects that are not part of a complete roadway project. That missing section of sidewalk, that bike lane to nowhere, is the responsibility of the municipality or the county. The state refuses to take ownership of bad design and bad funding for roadway projects that don't include everybody. BikeWalk North Carolina has been working to change the funding limitation that's been in place since 2013. In 2013, we had a Republican governor, we had a supermajority in the House, and we had a supermajority in the Senate, and they changed a lot of laws that made it hard for people to be safe on our public roads.
But is it fair to say that you believe that Republicans are anti-bike lane and Democrats?
I do not. The Republicans believe in active transportation. However, when you align active transportation for active transportation alone, or with the environment, it's not. So right now in 2025, most of our projects that were allotted at the federal level happen because they're economic impact for bicycle and pedestrian projects. Not because of saving the environment, not because of protecting people, but a quality of life issue and an economic issue. Amazing amounts of money, even from our representative Tim Moore in North Carolina, allocated $1 million directly for a Greenway project. Fantastic allies, but it cannot be because of these other issues associated with bicycle pedestrian projects. It's about economic benefit, and economic benefit lies in the heart of quality of life.
Thanks, Joel. We will keep you on the street in Washington, D.C. for future interviews.
Yeah, he may need to be paid, though. He's a working man.
We all need to be paid, which brings us up to like Bike Talk on social media and support us on Patreon. That's our pay. I think it's time for Charlie's News. What do you say?
Hey, this is Charlie with the week's news. From the Oakland side, Bike East Bay's annual Celebrate Trails Day ride on April 25th will center on advocacy for a lofty goal, the Bay Skyway. As of September 2013, it is possible to ride from Oakland to Treasure Island via a bike path, but the western part of the bridge, which continues across the bay to San Francisco, is strictly for motor vehicles. The Bay Skyway would make the whole journey from Oakland to San Francisco accessible to cyclists and pedestrians, but is slated to cost $700 million, including expansion of some other paths. $200 million has already been secured. From Bicycle Network, Queensland, Australia looks poised to implement e-bike regulations of their own. E-scooter and e-bike riders would be required to have at least a learner's permit to ride, the cost of which is $77.55 Australian dollars for 3 years. E-bikes that can exceed 25 kilometers an hour, or about 15.5 miles per hour, would be classified as motorcycles or mopeds, and users would need registration and insurance. Additionally, it would be legal for the police to randomly breathalyze riders. From Streets Blog Mass, General Manager of the Mass Bay Transit Authority Philip Eng says the T's bus service will exceed pre-pandemic levels this spring. Governor Maura Healey helped enact a new labor contract for MBTA bus drivers, which helped bolster their numbers after a lot of retirements catalyzed by the pandemic and previously low pay for entry-level drivers. Currently, the T is running at 99.4% of the weekly hours it did in fall 2019. From The Guardian, Anne Hidalgo's party mate Emmanuel Grégoire has won the Paris mayoral election. He beat right-wing candidate Rachida Dati decisively and can now continue to make Paris the green, bicycle-friendly, shining example of what a city can be. And if you're not convinced he'll continue the trend, the night he won, he hopped on a Vélib bicycle to take a victory lap through the new bike lanes of Paris.
Charlie mentioned the Paris mayor. That looks promising. He's riding a bike share bike.
And, a lot of people weren't sure what was going to happen in Paris when Anne Hidalgo stepped aside, whether they would continue to go in the progressive way that they have been going with advocating for bike transportation. And this is a big win, I think, for the future.
I hope so. And you have something you want to say about what's going on in your city?
Yeah, finally. The LA Times reported that finally Los Angeles is going to install 125 speed cameras, and they're going to be placed in school zones, known street racing corridors, on high injury network streets. And only drivers who are going 11 miles per hour or more over the speed limit will be photographed and then cited. So you can speed up to 10 miles over the speed limit in a school zone and still not get a warning or a ticket. And then listen to this. It always amazes me how far we go to appease drivers. For the first 60 days of this program, there won't be any tickets issued. Drivers won't have to pay a fine. They'll just get a warning if they are speeding in school zones and on areas like that.
Because we all understand speeding in school zones, I guess.
It's your right? I mean, it's my right. I'm an American. I can speed wherever I want to speed.
It's why we're in Iran. They don't photograph drivers. They photograph license plates, right? Isn't that how they do it?
Okay. Yeah, you're exactly right. But, you and I and Jim Pokras have often talked about when do the tickets start? And it was clearly stated here that it starts at 11 miles per hour over the stated speed limit.
Yeah.
Even with the common sense of the speed cameras in Los Angeles, some people are going to complain. And we know that super speeders and speeding and sideguards on trucks save lives. We've talked about this the last couple of weeks. Stephen Bingham's listener email, Dan Langenkamp, and today you have an interview with Marianne Karth.
She's a survivor. She was in a crash with a truck, and her 2 daughters did not survive. And so she's made a town hall coming up April 15th for the Stop Underrides Act. It's common sense legislation. It's already law in Europe mandating sideguards on trucks to prevent cyclists, pedestrians, and smaller cars from being trapped and crushed under trucks.
Right.
This is Marianne Karth, and Marianne, you started getting involved with underrides legislation or trying to do something about the lack of underrides in trucks. When you want to say what happened?
Sure. On May 4th, 2013, I got in my Crown Vic, got on the road with my 3 youngest children. We were on our way to Texas from North Carolina for a big family celebration. We got on the roads in Georgia, I-20, came upon slowed traffic. I slowed down. A truck driver did not. He hit our car, so it spun around, and we went backwards into the back of another tractor trailer. The rear underride guard at the back came right off. The back of our car went under, and my 2 daughters, Annalie and Mary, died as a result. I was in that horrific crash. I had some injuries, but I'm physically fine now. My son in the front seat with me, he had a minor concussion because our part of the car did not go into the truck. And in the aftermath, I learned all about underride, which I'd never heard of before. that hundreds of people die every year when they go under trucks. This can mean occupants of cars like our family. It can also mean vulnerable road users like cyclists, pedestrians. And the basic problem is that the bottom of trucks, large trucks, are up so high that there's this space that cars and people can go under when there's a collision. The good thing is engineers are smart and they've solved the problem by designing guards, side guards, improved rear underride guards. But the trucking industry has not voluntarily made use of those solutions on their trucks. And the federal government, who has the authority to require vehicle safety regulations, has dropped the ball. And as a result, that's why hundreds of people die a year. And that's why in 2017, I helped to get the Stop Underrides Act introduced again in 2019, 2021, and now in 2026. Unfortunately, industry pushback has stopped the legislation from being passed. And that's why I've organized a Stop Underrides National Town Hall, because I know the importance of mobilizing citizens across the country so that everybody is telling their members of Congress, this needs to pass. We, the people across the country, can unite our voices, register for this town hall, let other people know about it, let Congress know that they want them to sponsor the Stop Underrides bill and to vote for it, to get this legislation across the finish line after decades of knowing about the problem and not getting it resolved.
In Europe, they already have these side guards. They have them like so many things, but we can't because I'm not sure why. But it's the industry, right?
Yes, it's the industry opposition.
NHTSA, National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, they are the ones that are supposed to have made this regulation. All of the research shows that they should have, and they're not because of the trucking industry.
Yes, that is correct. And in addition, something that your listeners would probably be interested in is that there was actually federal safety research on the potential for side guards to protect pedestrians and cyclists from these kinds of deaths. And research was suppressed. The cost-benefit analysis that showed that side underride guards would be cost-effective, that data was suppressed, and that's impacted NHTSA's conclusion. They said it would not be cost-effective to require side guards, and yet vulnerable road users were left out of that calculation.
It's just incredible. So many people have died. I mean,
yes.
And there was Sarah Langenkamp. We talked to her husband before on Bike Talk. That's for the same issue, right?
Right. It was with the truck. Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us any more details about the town hall?
Sure. The town hall is April 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Our website is annaleahmary.com. That's ANNALEAHMARY.com, annaleahmary.com.
Annalee and Mary are the names of your two daughters?
Yes.
Okay.
Annalee was 17 and Mary was 13. And it tells all about the details and how to register. I hope to see many of your listeners there.
Right. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for staying with this. We might finally pass this.
I sure hope so, because it shouldn't be a partisan issue. It's a matter of life and death. That's what I want the town hall to be, is like a voice of all the people telling Congress, this is your job. Do your job. Protect people.
Thanks, Marianne Karth.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
So thanks, Marianne. We have the link to the town hall in the show notes at biketalk.org.
And that town hall is on April 15th. We were talking at the top of the show about gas prices and people kind of switching from cars to transit, bikes, and walking. And this is a question I get all the time. What kind of bike should I get? I have a couple of bikes, and so I have different bikes for different uses. And it is a little bit of a tricky question when the person really only has the finances and the space and the desire to have one bike. What kind of bike do you lead them towards?
Well, that's the thing. If you're talking to a real bike enthusiast, they're gonna have 7 bikes or whatever,
right.
So that they can't answer that question. But
do you have 7 bikes?
Oh, I don't know. Working bikes.
I have 4.
Well, they probably all work.
They do all work, yeah.
Like I have a road bike, a folding bike, an e-bike. I guess that's 3. Then I have 2 that don't work, and then I got a sort of a mountain bike.
I'm taking that bicycle mechanic class, and so maybe I could fix your bikes for you.
How are you gonna get here?
If you fly me out, I'll stay in Western Massachusetts and fix your bikes for you.
Hey.
Yeah. The class is a lot of fun. I'm learning a lot that I sort of already know, but I am cementing how to do some of these things. We're working on bottom brackets right now. We worked on brakes recently, and it's really been an interesting process.
I think the answer we came up with in another episode was a upright bike, like a city bike with the gears.
What I like about the upright bike is you can see better and you can be seen better when you're sitting up as opposed to on a drop bar bike.
I, did everything on a road bike, but for the road bike, I kept trying to get more upright, and there's just a limit to what you can do.
Right. Well, why don't we hear what Jim Cadenhead has to say?
He talks to your friend, right, Gloria?
Yeah. In Los Angeles, the average gas price is $5.77. Nationwide, I think it's probably a little bit lower than that, but that always gets a lot of people to start thinking about other ways of getting around: mass transit, walking, and of course, biking. Today, we have Jim Cadenhead with us. And of course, you guys know Jim. He's the mechanic. He's going to help a friend of mine, Gloria Ines, who is a primo young actress in Los Angeles. I had the pleasure of directing her in a play last spring, and she's wonderful. But she is thinking about giving up the car or using the car less. I don't know. Do you even have a car, Gloria, or not? I don't know.
I do, yeah, but the price is outrageous. So I want to start, looking at something else.
Right. I mean, it's hard to be in Los Angeles without a car, but you need a bike to get around, to do short errands, so you can be what we call car light. So Gloria, welcome to Bike Talk. Jim, welcome to Bike Talk. Why don't we start with you, Gloria? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're looking for and what you want your bike, how you want it to serve you.
Yeah. So I'm in the Hollywood area, and I can get a lot done under 3 miles, 4 miles. So I would love, to be able to go to the grocery store quickly, or, the theater company that Taylor and I are part of in North Hollywood. And I've taken the metro down that way, but I would cut my travel time in half if I had a bike for one of those stretches. So really just trying to not have to get in the car unless I would need to be traveling more than 30 minutes. Right. So that's kind of the idea. And if I could get it on, public transit easy. So I know that I've seen foldable bikes, people will put them in front of the buses. So just, I don't know much. I don't know anything really about bikes. So
right. Well, that's what Jim's for. I will tell Jim that there is a pretty good hill in between where Gloria lives. Well, I'm not exactly sure where you are, but in between Hollywood and the theater that she's talking about, which, by the way, is the Road Theater Company in Los Angeles, a really wonderful theater company. So, Jim, how would you start? Would you start with questions? Would you start with just mansplaining her? Tell me what to do.
Yeah, bring it on.
Ultimately, I want to make sure that we get you what you want. So the idea is to try and drill down to what makes sense. And so I think my first question is going to be, when you envision yourself riding, what does it look like? Do you look like you're in an aggressive position? Are you trying to like beat cars? Are you trying to match personal records, or do you see yourself a little bit more upright, cruising around, maybe a basket on the front, like a baguette coming out of it, some flowers, kind of what, or in between these, like what do you see?
Yeah, you know what? I would say I would be maybe not closer to the baguette, maybe in the middle. I want to be efficient, but I have my stuff. I like my stuff, and I want to be able to bring it with me. So, I don't imagine myself racing anywhere or trying to beat cars, just trying to stay out of the way. I think is where I'm at.
Right.
Yeah.
Right on. When was the last time you rode? What kind of riding were you doing then?
Gosh, I mean, it's been so long. I went to the East Coast recently, and we rode around on e-bikes around the city. We were in New York, so that was the last time I rode a bike recently, and that was pretty fun.
Was that a city bike? Is that what that was?
It was a city bike, yeah.
Great. Okay, good. Sorry, Jim, go ahead.
Do you think that you would be open to the idea of an e-bike, or do you want to stick with an analog pedal bike?
I think where I'm at, I want to do analog and then see if it's necessary to upgrade to something like an e-bike.
Okay, awesome. So this helps a lot to kind of narrow down what we're looking for. And what I would kind of put us in the direction of is a type of fitness bike, or like almost like a hybrid, or sometimes they're called city bikes, sometimes they're called hybrid, sometimes they're called flat bar gravel bikes. They have a lot of different names. But I would also tend to recommend, based on what you told me, that we look for something with a rear rack so that you can put some bags on it, some panniers or whatever you wanted. The weight, if you're doing more weight, it will probably feel more comfortable on the back of the bike. And then you can actually get the weight off of your back. So rather than carrying a backpack, you can put it on the bike.
Yeah, that's huge, I think. I always wonder about people who are riding bikes with backpacks. It's just you sweat more. Your body's carrying the weight rather than the machine is carrying the weight. I've never understood that one, so I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. And the final thought would be just whether or not we were looking for something with a more traditional frame, kind of like the triangle diamond frame, or a step through where you have a lower top tube. If you have a rack, the lower top tube makes it easier to get on and off the bike. So with all of those considerations, I would kind of suggest at this point that you start trying a few things out, sort of in this like hybrid fitness range. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, one of the things we didn't ask you, Gloria, is how much are you thinking of spending? A lot of people think bikes are free, and they're not. Yeah. And they're not free to maintain either, but they are less than a car payment to buy and, less than a tank of gas to maintain. So there is some entry fee to get in. So what are you thinking price-wise?
Because this is something that I really want to invest in, I mean, $300 to $400 is kind of the top thing. $400. I don't know what that sounds like to you all.
We're not going to be looking at I would not recommend a new bike at that price. And about 35 years ago, $400 would get you a pretty decent entry-level bike, but not anymore. Now, I think if you were looking at considering getting something that I would suggest commuting around town on, I think you're going to be looking at, with racks and all set up for yourself, probably in the $900 to $1,000 range. All right, for a bike out of a shop.
For a new bike, right?
Yes, and I generally tend to recommend new bikes because they're going to come with some sort of maintenance plan with them. So generally speaking, they will adjust everything for a year and make sure everything is running okay. Plus, you kind of know the history with a new bike. With used bikes, a lot of times you can get stuff that is already worn out, and most of it isn't visibly worn out. Things like worn out chains or worn out gears in the rear wheel or chain rings. But at this point, for the $400 budget, I think you are going to be limited to a used bike.
Right.
Probably in my opinion, for where you're at.
Right. Let me add there, because sometimes I think a used bike can be a good value because you can buy a better bike that is used for that price rather than, because you can find new bikes for $300 or $400 at Target or Costco or something like that. And I know Jim will steer you away from that, as would I, that if you are going to buy a new bike, buy from a bike shop, not online or not from a department store. Jim, what's your take on that?
Yeah, 100%. The stuff that you're going to find online and stuff that you find at department stores are such a race to the bottom that I think you're going to have a hard time sticking with this as a habit when you're dealing with a bike that is slowing you down out of the gate, that you're fighting in order to make work for you. So I would try and find something that has been at least tuned and is in good shape. And I would recommend trying a couple things. I mean, if this is the other thing, bicycles are not something you should be buying online. All right. I really would recommend straying away from that, like going someplace where you can actually get on it and try it out. And I know that can be hard for folks, but there are places too, like the Bicycle Kitchen in Los Angeles, and where you can go and you can actually try used bikes and work with people to see what they have, or they will help you fix something up.
That's a great thing, Gloria. Sorry to interrupt you. There are a few bike co-ops in Los Angeles, the Bike Kitchen, the Bike Oven. Some of those are near you in Hollywood, and you can go there and they can help you fix a bike. They can help you work on a bike. They can help you even get a bike. We have a lot of those people on the show. And I think Jim's point is when you buy a bike that's at the bottom of the, what's the word I'm looking for? The bottom of the pile of, value of bikes. They're just, sometimes they're not even built well. The guys who build them at the store don't really know how to build the bike. And I think you're throwing away good money after bad, if that's the right saying, when you buy from a department store.
Gotcha. So my question to you both would be, like, if I go over to the Bicycle Kitchen oven and I am trying these bikes, like, what is something to keep in mind as I'm trying them? Like, obviously, if it rides good or if it feels comfortable with my height and all those things, but something that a first-time buyer wouldn't thinking about when trying out a bike.
One of the most important things that I talk to folks about, specifically with fit, you want to make sure that if you hop on a bike and you put your butt on the seat and your hands on the handlebar and you feel like the seat is high enough, and we can talk a little bit about that in a second. But you really want to make sure that the most important distance for you is from the saddle to where the handlebars are. So if you are reaching too far for that, and you can't take your hands off the handlebars while sitting on the seat and hold your body in the right position, in the same position, then that bike is going to be too long, and there's nothing that you can do that's going to make that feel great for you. So we really want you to get onto something where it's a comfortable position, and you're not doing a Supergirl in order to reach the handlebars with your hands way up.
Although you are a Supergirl, but I think that's a great point. And unfortunately, that's one of the difficult things about a used bike is you may not get the variety of sizes and choices in a used bike that you would in a new bike at a shop.
Do you mind if I ask how tall you are, Gloria?
I'm pretty short. I'm 5'2".
It is one of the hard things about finding used bikes specifically can be like smaller bikes tend to hold their value a little bit better because of the fact that they are pretty sought after. So it's just something to kind of keep an eye out for. So And the one thing that I would recommend that you might want to do is you may want to at some point, go into a bicycle shop near you and just ask whether or not you can test ride a couple of bikes. And a lot of times they will put you on stuff and it will give you a feel for what the right size bike is. And this can be a huge help to work with somebody initially to feel what the right size bike is. The last thing to remember is that no bicycle is set up with everything that you may want. So you may feel that this bike is perfect for you, but you don't like the seat. Well, don't get rid of the bike because of the fact that you don't like the seat. You can swap the seat out, or you can swap the grips out, or the pedals out. The contact points with your body, all of that stuff is replaceable. So if you feel like everything is great for you, but you don't like one specific thing, that's changeable, okay?
Gotcha. Awesome.
I think that's a great note also, because you're right. The seat, the handlebars, and the pedals are the places where you touch the bike. And like Jim said, those can be changed easily.
Gotcha.
And so the other thing, the final thing is clutch, is to come up with a route to where you want to go that may not necessarily be the same way you would drive. There are a lot of feeder streets in LA, so you don't have to take the main arteries. You can ride parallel to it, so you don't have to be necessarily on Hollywood Boulevard or on Sunset. You could be over a couple blocks and cruising through. So that kind of stuff can really make the ride for you, and it can make it easier for you to get back onto it.
Yeah, definitely. Because that's another concerning thing, or something I would need practice with, is riding with traffic, because I've never done that consistently.
You know, one of the things people like Jim and me and anybody who's kind of a bike fanatic get asked all the time is this question about what is the best bike for me. And one of the last things I can say, I'll give Jim the last word, but is enjoy this process. It really is a fun process. Don't buy the first bike. You know, do go to some bike stores, try some out, you know, ask your friends, talk to your friends. And I think Jim's note about, you know, finding the routes that you'll ride on to the gym, to Trader Joe's, to the theater, you know, to wherever you might be going around your, 3-mile radius is a great note. But have fun and try lots of options. And I think the idea of a hybrid bike with a rack is exactly what I would lead you towards also. Any last questions you have, Gloria, or?
No, I think this was really very, very helpful. I really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Jim, you got a last word there or not?
Yeah, I've been selling bikes and working on bikes for over 30 years. And the thing that I've seen is that bikes have gotten so much better. And compared to just about everything else, I mean, my rent has gone up over 1,000%. And the least expensive bikes that we sell at the bike shop, they have not even gone up 50%. So we're talking about $400 to $600, so you can get a whole lot of bike for an entry level at a bike shop. So it may be something to consider. But like I said, there are so many good options where you are for finding bikes at any kind of co-op. And one of the cool things about places like a co-op is that they have instant community. So if you are worried about riding in traffic or riding anywhere, like there's going to be groups that are meeting up to go out. Bicycle Kitchen used to have Bicycle Bitchin', which was specifically for women. And they had rides, they had fun rides, they had like midnight riders groups. Right. There's all kinds of stuff out there where you can actually meet up with folks and start to feel a little bit comfortable riding on the street. And riding with other people is a great way to get out on the street and to allow you to feel more confident.
And it's just plain fun, right?
Exactly. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's Jim Cadenhead of Battle Road Bikes right outside Boston, Massachusetts. Gloria Ines, one would spend $500 easily on their car and not blink. And sometimes we hesitate to spend $500 on a bicycle. But I think the advice is well proven that it pays off in the long run. Gloria, if you don't mind, we'll kind of stick with you and bring you back in a week or two or a month and see where you are, if you've bought a bike, and what kind of bike it is, and are you riding, are you getting out there, and how it's going.
Right on. Yeah, I would love that.
Gloria Ines, Jim Cadenhead, you guys, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, we're going to follow Gloria as she goes down this journey of buying a bike. I'm going to try and meet her one day at a bike store, and we're going to look at some stuff. And she's even now talking about possibly an e-bike. So the world is her oyster.
And I think that's the show.
I think that's it. We want to thank Kalli Krumpos, Joel Gwadz, Jim Cadenhead, Marianne Karth, Gloria Ines, and of course we always want to thank our regulars, Julie Richard, Josh Hagland, Kevin Burton, Charlie Lighthizer, Amy Ziering, Stacy Randecker, and Lindsay Sturman. I got those names memorized.
Yeah, that is impressive. I have a bike post.
Great.
To quote by DC Trike Mom. So I guess they're in DC, so it fits their theme.
And they ride a trike, I'm guessing, and they're a mother.
Uh-huh. Buy the heaviest, most expensive cargo bike and add every accessory that exists, and you still equal 1% as much energy or pollution or road hazard as a car. Also, this sunset, and it's a picture of what I think is her family on a bike, and you can see the sunset, and I think those are cherry trees with the blossoms, the famous cherry blossoms of DC.
Yeah, that's what Kalli was talking about.
So thanks, DC Trike Mom.
Yeah.
And thank you, Taylor.
Ride safe.
Can you say it again?
Ride safe. Ride safe.
It wasn't because of the
ride safe.
It wasn't. It was because I thought it was okay. Hold on.
This episode of Bike Talk is sponsored by the law offices of Pocras and De Los Reyes, with offices in Los Angeles and Bakersfield, and serving all of Southern California.
Bike Talk is a project of CRSP and the Los Angeles Eco-Village Institute.
And that was Bike Talk. If you have a story, a tip, or a topic, head over to biketalk.org and send us a message. Talk again next week.
Get on your bike, sit on the seat, put your feet on the pedals, and ride it all around, ride it all around. Ride my bike today, it keeps me fit, gets me there. I won't go stinking up the air, leave behind the daily grind. Let your mind unwind, live its life, pretend to life, better get yourself a bike. Get on your bike, sit on the seat, put your feet on the pedal, and ride it all around, ride it all around. Get on your bike, sit on the seat, put your feet on the pedal, and ride it all around, ride it all around. Get that car out of my way, I wanna ride my bike today. It keeps me fit, gets me there, I won't go stinking up the air. Leave behind the daily grind, let your mind unwind. Live its life, pretend to life, better get yourself a bike. Get yourself a bike. Oh, 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 get yourself a bike.